everyone, welcome to my channel. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Bookshelf of Fairies and Foxes. I'm Camille. As you can see, I've cut my beautiful locks of hair and now sport a bob. Today I will be talking about my favorite standalone YA novels of all time. It is an abbreviated list. I have way more. This is a shortened version. But first, I have decided to start doing a segment before the main part of my video call with the top 3 things that I would like to talk about going on in YA now. For number 3, I think I am going to typically be doing or spotlighting whichever book is at the top of the New York Times YA hardcover list, bestseller list. So, starting with number 3 today, Angie Thomas with The Hate U Give is once again number 1 on the New York Times best-selling YA hardcovers list. It has been on the list for 71 weeks, which is more than a year, so it's been like 14 months, which is, I want to say, approximately when it came out. I hadn't even known it came out until I was at Y'all Fest and everyone was holding it. I hear it is a very good book. Personally, it's not my cup of tea. It's not the kind of book I normally read, but I've heard that it's very good. I have friends who love it, so I definitely recommend that you should check it out, or at least see what it's about, because it is doing extremely well. Number 2 on the list today is going to be the trailer for the Miseducation of Cameron Post. Came out this past week, I want to say. The film is going to be released on August 3rd. It is based on the YA novel of the same name by Emily M. Danforth. And it is set in 1993, and it is about a gay, queer girl. And obviously this is during a time when queer people were even less accepted than they are today. And the trailer shows Cameron in the, I don't know what you even call it, a gay conversion camp, so converting them back to being straight. And so that's what she's dealing with. The novel is set a bit differently, but based on the trailer, it essentially has the same stuff in it. The movie seems to focus more on her time at the camp and her remembering what happened, how she got there, and what she's going to be doing about her situation. I didn't love the book. I read it a number of years ago, I want to say the freshman year of college, but it was a pretty decent book. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't a happy book, and I love happy books. It had an open ending, which left Cameron's future open to possibilities. It implied good things in the future, but who knows? But I am definitely going to be seeing that probably in theaters. I did enjoy the book and recommend that you guys check it out. And number 1 on my list. It may not be number 1 on everyone's list, but it is definitely number 1 in my heart forever. So the movie Artemis Fowl is going to be released by Disney Productions in August of next year. I want to say August 19th. There was a 9, I believe. Also in 2019. But it's going to be August 2019 release date. It's based on the novel of the same name by Owen Colfer, an Irish middle grade YA author. He also does children's books. The Artemis Fowl series is based, it's based on a 12-year-old boy who decides to kidnap a fairy and ransom it for gold. When I first picked it up, I thought I was going to hate it, but I had nothing else to read. And I really needed to read something because I was going to be on a long driving trip. And I read it and I loved it. You will never think of fairies the same way after that. Believe me, whatever you think of as fairies now, this is not how you're thinking of them. I want to say it's a crossover between middle grade and YA. It's the main character in some of it is middle grade aged, but he later on in the series he's older, and it also deals with a lot of young adult themes. And it's just such an awesome book. If you like YA fantasy or sci-fi, definitely check it out. The movie's going to be based on the first book, and the casting looks awesome. The setting, it's being filmed in Ireland, which is where the book was set, and Ireland is just so beautiful in movies. And it's being produced by Disney, and I love Disney, and honestly, they're so good at fantasy and sci-fi everything. Excuse me. Producing movies with YA or with just sci-fi and fantasy, and you guys need to check it out. I'm going to be talking about this basically until the end of time. This is one of my favorite series ever. Okay. So now that we've finished that, I can move on to the main event of the day, which is talking about my favorite standalone YA novels of all time. Not an exhaustive list. Okay. Okay, so the first book I'm going to be talking about is Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda. So I had first seen this in a bookstore. I had no idea what it was about based on this title. And I think a friend recommended it to me. I don't really remember how I decided to read it, but I was walking around Decatur near my school, and there's this really cool bookstore there, and it looked good, so I picked it up and bought it. And it was totally worth it. I believe I read it in one sitting, totally ignoring my homework, of course, but it's so cute, so funny. It's about Simon, a gay boy who is closeted, more so for the awkwardness of coming out than actual, like, not wanting to come out yet. And he ends up, and he's pen paling with another gay boy who he does not know the identity of, but he knows goes to his school. And then he's being blackmailed to help this other boy who has a crush on one of Simon's best friends. So, Simon's not having a good time here, but it's such a cute book. I love Simon's snarkiness. His sense of humor is just amazing. Like, and like half of the things he says are things that I have personally thought as someone who is not straight. But it's so cute. It's also just really the embodiment of the teen gay experience. Simon basically has a crush on any boy who he thinks might possibly be gay, which any of us who are not straight identify with on a very spiritual level. But it's just such a cute book. It's by Becky Albertalli. Technically, it's not a standalone because Leah on the Offbeat is technically a sequel, but I consider this a standalone. And originally we didn't know that the Leah book was going to be coming out, so I still think of it like that. And it's just an amazing book. I did have it signed when I was at Y'all Fest, and look, it's so cute. Becky doodled it. It is also one of the first gay teen books I have read that is not filled with angst. Obviously, there's a little angst in it because, face it, he's a teenager and he's gay. But it's not filled with angst, and it has a happy ending. And it's not just all artsy, feelsy stuff. It's so cute. Highly recommend it. Second is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Another one, also another gay novel. Technically, it's not a standalone because she just announced a sequel, and also it takes place in the same world kind of as Fangirl, because it is the fan fiction that Kath writes in Fangirl. But I still I consider it a standalone, and it works perfectly fine as a standalone. Basically, it is an embodiment of a dreary fan fiction. And it has all the best things that fan fiction has, and it's so cute. Obviously, there's angst in it, because it's loosely based on the world of Harry Potter. And I just love Simon and Baz so much. They're so adorable. They're very different people, but they still somehow work together. And then also what I did love is that even though I read Fangirl, I knew that she ships Simon and Baz, and this is her fanfiction. I did not see that, I did not realize that it was Baz who was in love with Simon. So, spoiler alert. There are spoilers in these sometimes. I did not realize the twist in the way it was announced which one was in love with whom. And also, I just love the way Baz responds to his crush. Some of that is stuff that I have felt on a spiritual level, like living with your roommate who you may or may not have definite feelings for is not always the funnest of things. So, I did identify with that. I love Baz. I love his sense of humor. He's so witty and snarky and sarcastic, which is the best. But it does also deal with anxiety and depression, and it kind of shows what Simon was dealing with, that I kind of thought that Harry in Harry Potter should have been dealing with based on his situation. I did not see I did not anticipate the way this book was going to end in the way that it did, but I loved that twist. All in all, it's just a really cute book. Read it, love it, keep reading it. Okay. Next one is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. One of my all-time favorite books ever. I believe this is a special edition that my friend got me for my birthday back in junior year. And I love it. It has a little cute bookmark, and the normal cover, I believe, is green. And I identify with this so much. Kath is literally my spirit animal. Down to the nerdiness, the social anxiety, everything about her is a typical fangirl. And I just love it so much. Before this book, I had never read a book that I identified with so much. Just everything about it. Like, I just literally want to hold it tight to me and never let it go, because I love it so much. That much. One thing I did really love about the aspect of being a fangirl, in it is basing like so much of your life around your fan fictions and around just the fandoms that you're in. Kath only really does one. A lot of us have more than one. And one of the things that I really liked is that she decorated her room. She just, everything in her life was based so much around this fandom, just like me. So, like, here's my print wall so far with prints from the All for the Game series and then one from the Raven Cycle. I have more at home in Virginia that I do not have here yet. And then I have bookish prints on my other wall. So, yeah. I identify with Kath a lot. I've never had that experience with a fictional character before, other than somewhat with Hermione and Harry Potter. But I've never had that experience really before I read this, and all I can say is thank you to Rainbow Rowell for writing this. If you like nerdiness, just read it. Oh, also, I just really loved the love story in this. Levi is so adorable, and even though he messes up, I just wanted them to be together forever. Okay, so next is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. So Marissa Meyer is one of my all-time favorite authors. I love the Lunar Chronicles, I love Renegades, and the next book in that series is coming out later this year. And I just really loved Heartless. This came out a couple years ago. I really love retellings of the Queen of Hearts and or the Red Queen. I do have this one signed. She came to an event that was at the bookstore near my school back when I was in college. It was in my senior year, so I took a break from writing my senior thesis and went. And it is signed. It says, "Camille, we're all mad here, Marissa." And I never took the post-it note out, which is great. But it's a retelling of the Queen of Hearts. One thing that I really liked that was very original and quirky was the bakery theming in this. And it showed that she did a lot of research, because a lot of these recipes, well, one, they're based on the period, things that they would have made in that time period, and two, they're random things. They're not just something that someone who wasn't researching different intricate baked goods would write about. So I really loved that part of this. Such a beautiful cover as well. All of her books have beautiful covers. But I really want the paperback version because it has a white background, which I think was also the same as, or very similar to, the Owl Crate edition. But this was such a good book. I did anticipate pretty quickly like what the ending was going to be, but still the way it was written was done so well, and it still made it fresh for me, if that makes sense. And I still enjoyed it just as much as if I hadn't anticipated the ending. So 5 stars, Marissa Meyer. 5 stars. Love. Finally is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller did recently come out with a book entitled Circe. I will never pronounce it Circe. It is Circe. And it is a retelling of Achilles and Patroclus and an expansion on their love story. the Iliad never, or in just mythology in general, never fully, like, declares whether they were a thing, but most people support that, and I do as well. So I was a classics major, and but even before I went to college, I had been studying mythology since I was 8 years old. I knew how this was going to end, but still, it was so heart-wrenching. I loved I loved Patroclus. He was adorable, and so heartfelt. Um, I I liked Achilles. I liked the way he was with Patroclus. I did not love him in the Iliad. I've read the Iliad multiple times. This helped me like him more in that. It gave more reasoning behind the way he acted. So if you like Greek mythology, if you like the Iliad, if you like the Odyssey, read this. It's so good. I knew exactly how it was going to end. I did not want it to end that way. I read this in my freshman year. I was taking an Iliad class at the time, I believe, and I was sitting at my desk. The microwave was on the refrigerator next to my desk. I started to make mac and cheese. I was getting to the part where, you know, things happen, and I was so distracted I forgot to put water in the mac and cheese, and I put it in the microwave. The smoke started coming out of the microwave. The fire alarm went off. Yeah, I caused that to happen. Yeah, so that happened. I had to deal with that. This book did that to me. It's so emotional. Even though you know exactly how it's going to end, it's still so good. And obviously it's gay. So another point for it. So those are 5 of my top favorite standalone YA novels of all time. I don't know if this counts as YA. One of my top favorite standalone novels of all time. And I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, sticking with me. Tell me if there's anything you want me to read. There's so many things I need to read. But I really do not need to add to that list. There's so many. There's almost 800 books on my TBR list. I'm never going to catch up. But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.